Guys, welcome back to Friction Grand Rapids. We're going to talk about squat mobility with respect to the squat position. So our big goal with this is removing restrictions in your lower body, in the joints that are going to be playing a big part in that movement. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the hip joint, the knee joint, and the ankle joint. This would be flexion of the hip, and it's closing the hip joint, which is the position we get to in the bottom of a squat. The first muscle group we're going to focus on is the glute, or the glutes plural. And when we think of the glutes, it's really the butt muscle. When we go to mobilize the glute, we're going to do a myofascial release, which you can think of that as like self-massage. We're just trying to get the muscle to relax so that it will easily lengthen. The exercise that we're going to work on first is like glute rollout. Trina's demonstrating it here on a foam roller. So the way to approach this exercise is to basically sit down, put your butt right on the roller, lean to one side, make sure you're supported by your feet and your hands. And you're going to work back and forth going across the length of the butt muscle, the glute, slowly, maybe a few seconds to go all the way up and all the way back. So pigeon pose is an exercise from yoga. It does a really good job of lengthening the glute muscle. So when we set up for a pigeon pose, we're going to start in almost like a plank position, or hands all four, and we're going to pull a knee up towards the chest. Gently rest your knee on the ground. Make sure there's no pain or discomfort in that position. And then you're going to slowly lean your chest towards the ground. You should feel that stretch in the back of the hip in the glute muscle. The next muscle group we're going to focus on is the hamstring. So the hamstring is a muscle in the back of your thigh. It goes from your hip all the way down to your knee. To mobilize that muscle and massage that muscle and help it relax, we're going to do a hamstring rollout. So you're going to go back to a foam roller. You're going to position the foam roller just below your glute muscle on the back of your thigh. Your hands will be behind you if you'd be out in front of you. Put as much weight into the hamstring as you comfortably can, and you're going to shift your hips forward and backward with the support of your arms. All right, guys, so now to work on lengthening the hamstring and improving our range of motion in that muscle group, we're going to do a box hamstring stretch or an elevated hamstring stretch. So you're going to pick your foot up, place it onto an elevated surface, and then lean your chest in until you feel that stretch in the back of your thigh. Okay guys, so the next area we're going to work on is the quadricep, or the quad for short. It's the muscle in the front of your thigh that is going from your hip to your knee joint. So the first thing we're going to work on is a quadricep rollout, and that's going to be using your foam roller again. You're going to set up on like an army crawl position on your elbows and on your toes facing the ground, and you're going to position the roller just below your hip, and you're going to work kind of on the upper half of the quad where the muscle's a little bit thicker. You're going to have a little bit more effect on making that tissue overall a little bit more relaxed. So now to lengthen that quad muscle, the muscle in the front of your thigh, we're going to do what's called the couch stretch. So for this one, you can use a couch. We're going to demonstrate it on the floor with a pad. What you're going to do is take your leg and put your knee into the corner of the wall, or as close as you can comfortably get, and your toe is going to go back up on the wall. And you want your other leg to be flat on the foot with the knee up. You're going to want to start in a lower position with your hands on the ground, and then if you don't have a stretch there, you can slowly and carefully progress to a more upright position for a better quad stretch. The secondary joint we're going to look at is the knee joint. So if we take a look at an example of knee flexion, this is what we would see for that part of that movement. So now that we've covered all the hip mobilizations, we're going to work on a few knee mobilizations. And if you remember, we're trying to get the knee joint to close, get it into flexion like we talked about earlier. So the very first one we're going to work on is mobilizing or gently massaging the quadricep tendon, which is going to be an area of the leg that's just above your knee. You're going to use your foam roller again. We're going to be in that army crawl position on your elbows and toes. And we're going to position the roller on the lower quarter of your thigh not going over the kneecap, but going just above it and going back and forth. Hey guys, so now we're going to work on stretching that knee joint, or getting that knee joint to close a little bit more with what's called a saddle stretch. When you start out with this one, start with a very upright torso and make sure that it's pain-free in that kneeling position. And if you're feeling good, you can start to lean back a little bit more, progressing towards sitting your hips on your heels. So now that we've covered the hip and the knee joint, we're going to work on the ankle joint, and we're going to work on closing that ankle joint, which is called dorsiflexion. So your soft tissue myofascial release massage exercise is going to be using your foam roller again. So you're going to be sitting on your hips for this exercise, and your hands will be behind you, and you're going to rest the lower leg and kind of the calf muscle, which is the muscle in the back of your lower leg, onto the roller. So you're going to start just below the knee, and you're going to work towards the ankle, going over the Achilles tendon, which is the lower half of your lower leg. All right, guys, now that we've kind of taken some tension out of that calf and Achilles area, we're going to work on stretching it out, lengthening that area so we can access the squat a little bit more easily and get the benefits of the squat. So to do that, we're going to do a calf stretch, and you can do this against a wall or a post. To do this one, you're going to put your forefoot or your toes up onto the wall a few inches, making sure that your heel is resting on the ground, and you keep a little bit of tension in your core and in your glute, and just lean in until you find that stretch in the back of the lower leg. So now that we've worked on every individual joint and improved our range of motion there, we're going to do a kind of collective big stretch. We call this one a post squat stretch, and it's actually getting into your squat position with support. And so in the gym, we'll use a post. At home, if you have a door post or a very strong piece of furniture that isn't going to move, that's a good way to approach this. Getting into this one, you're going to anchor down, hold that post or piece of furniture, and sink into the bottom of a squat and stay in that position, but don't be active in that position. Try to relax your muscles a little bit and shift your weight slowly, working through the range of motion of your ankles, your knees and hips. And there's really not a wrong way to go about it. Just make sure that it's pain-free range of motion, make sure it's comfortable as you work through it. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.